In the 1st century, Athens was the intellectual center of the ancient world. The Areopagus, or Mars Hill, served as the supreme council, where the most influential ideas of the age were scrutinized and debated. The dominant thinkers here were the Epicureans and the Stoics. They represented the peak of Hellenistic thought, possessing a system of logic and ethics that had defined Mediterranean civilization for centuries. This logic, however, contained a rigid social divide. As this diagram shows, the Greeks, the Hellenes, saw themselves as uniquely civilized. Everyone else was categorized as a barbarian, a mass of humanity viewed as inherently inferior. This elitism extended to their view of existence itself. Greek philosophy often treated the physical body as a prison. Since the material world was seen as a temporary shell to be discarded, the physical suffering of the lower classes was often dismissed as irrelevant to the pursuit of wisdom. Paul of Tarsus stepped into this arena to offer a direct challenge to these assumptions. He didn't come with a religious plea, but with a structural argument designed to confront the Greek worldview on its own terms. The stakes of this meeting were high. If Paul failed to reconcile his message with Greek reason, his movement would remain a minor Eastern sect. If his argument took root, it would introduce a new framework for understanding human value and the natural world. Paul's strategy was tactical. He bypassed Hebrew scripture entirely, knowing his audience would find it alien. Instead, he referenced an Athenian altar dedicated to an unknown god and quoted the Greeks' own poets to build his case. He began by validating the Epicurean critique of local religion. The Epicureans argued that the divine was self-sufficient and didn't need human bribes. Paul agreed, declaring that the God who made the world does not live in man-made temples or require human service. He then appealed to the Stoic belief in a rational order. By affirming that humanity shares a connection to the Creator, he used the Stoics' own logic to suggest that the divine is woven into the fabric of reality. But here, Paul made a critical pivot. He took these abstract Greek concepts and anchored them to a personal, sovereign creator who is active in human history, rather than a distant or blind force. This led to his most subversive claim, that from one man, God made every nation of the human race. This one blood concept systematically dismantled the Hellene and barbarian divide. It introduced a new premise, that every human being, regardless of their culture or status, possesses an identical origin and an inherent dignity. By framing history as a purposeful narrative, where every nation is placed by God, Paul replaced the Greek idea of random, fatalistic cycles with the idea that every culture has a unique and intrinsic value. Paul held the Areopagus in a state of intellectual truth until he mentioned the resurrection. By asserting that a specific man had been raised bodily from the dead, he crossed a non-negotiable philosophical line. The reaction was immediate. The Greeks sneered. To a mind trained to view the body as a prison, the idea of a physical return to life was repulsive. Look at this collision. The Greeks wanted to escape the material box. Paul's message did the opposite. It insisted that the divine had entered the box, taken on human flesh, and redeemed the physical body. This created a permanent friction between the Greek pursuit of pure, transcendent abstractions and the Christian focus on historical, physical intervention. That friction became the engine of the West. The Greek rejection of the resurrection defined the great tension between abstract reason and the concrete reality of human history. The Christian embrace of the physical resurrection changed the way the West viewed reality. It suggested that the material world was not an illusion or a prison, but a meaningful part of a larger plan. This shift made the physical world an object of respect. If the universe was the ordered creation of a rational God, then it was a realm worthy of careful, systematic study. This image of an early telescope represents the outcome of that logic. The conviction that the physical universe is both rational and valuable provided the intellectual permission necessary for the scientific method to develop. Paul's earlier claim of one blood combined with this new respect for the body to change the moral landscape. If the physical body is destined for resurrection, then physical suffering can no longer be ignored. Over the following centuries, this logic transformed Western institutions. The belief that the physical well-being of every person was a cosmic priority drove the rise of organized medical care for the poor and eventually provided the moral leverage used to dismantle the global slave trade. We still live in the tension created on Mars Hill. The modern West survives by balancing that relentless Greek drive for reasoned truth with the Christian insistence on universal human dignity and the redemption of the material world.